Hello and welcome to your Southeast Idaho weather hazard and planning briefing for Saturday, April 10th. My name's Alex from the National Weather Service in Pocatello. Now, the banner does say Tuesday, April 6th, but I can assure you this is the briefing for Saturday, April 10th, so apologize for the mismatch there. So your key points. Today we'll be looking at another high wind event for particularly the northern Snake Plain, the southern Snake Plain in the eastern Magic Valley. Winds will be strongest across the northern Snake Plain. The winds will be strongest generally between 11 a.m. and 10 p.m. We'll be looking for widespread blowing dust with potentially near zero visibility along I-15 from Idaho Falls to Roberts, for example. We could also see some isolated tree and power line damage. And confidence on wind direction, speed, and timing is high. We'll see a quieter day Sunday, a cooler day, and then as we get into next week, particularly from late Monday through Tuesday and Wednesday, and finally to finish the week, a storm system is expected to move into the area, and that is expected to bring some rain and snow. And yes, snow all the way to valley floors, potentially on Wednesday morning. Confidence in this is still low at this time, but we'll continue to refine those details as we get closer. Kicking things off here with the satellite image for this morning, we can see an area of low pressure over British Columbia with the cold front extending south and west from there. That cold front will quickly move across central and eastern Idaho later on today, and that is the driving force behind the winds that are expected. So your weather and impacts outlook look like this. Windy with blowing dust across the Snake Plain. Strong crosswinds, especially on north-south routes. Tree damage, power line damage is possible with power outages, and please make sure to secure any lightweight or loose objects. Winds won't be quite as strong across the Magic Valley, but nonetheless strong enough to cause similar issues with breezy conditions across the remainder of central and eastern Idaho. Sunday, we're in the green. Monday, we start to introduce some snow shower activity, especially late in the day and Monday night across higher terrain areas. Tuesday, we will start to increase our winds. So particularly across the Snake Plain, we'll see some stronger northeast winds developing that'll cause some choppy conditions, particularly on American Falls Reservoir. And notice for Wednesday, we have snow showers and rain of snow showers for some areas. We have the impacts painted green here, and that's because the confidence is too low exactly in timing and location and precipitation type details, but we could certainly see some impacts due to snow as we get into the middle of next week. But let's focus first on our highest impact here, and that's going to be for today. Due to the winds, you can see in the browns we have a wind advisory in effect, and in this more orange color here, that is where our high wind warning is in effect for today. All the products are in effect from 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. And in this area, that's where winds are forecast to be strongest today. So let's take you through it here this morning. We'll begin to see winds ramp up, especially after 9 o'clock or so. And this is really just about the time the warnings and advisories are starting. Notice at this time, though, the strongest winds will be over the central Idaho mountains, particularly the mid and upper slopes, getting into the 40-plus mile per hour range for gusts in these red colors here. But look what happens as we get into this afternoon. We see winds just very quickly ramp up by late this morning and expand across the entire area. As we get into some of these pink colors here, that's where we expect to see wind gusts in the 60 to 70 mile per hour range, sort of in this narrow strip from Craters of the Moon through the INL and towards Rexburg and Idaho Falls. In these red colors, widespread winds in the 40 to 50 mile per hour 40 to 50 mile per hour range. And the winds will generally be out of the west and southwest. Now, as we get into this evening, this is sort of mid to late evening, so let's say around sunset, we'll start to see some northerly winds move into the northern half of the Snake River Plain. This is very similar to how Thursday evolved once we got into the evening. South of this boundary, which is actually cold front, south of the cold front, Even through the evening hours, the winds will remain strong out of the west in the 40 to 50 mile per hour range. And by the time we get into the early overnight hours, notice the northerly winds continuing to move down the Snake Plain and still strong, with the strong westerly winds out ahead of it. And then by the time we get after midnight tonight, the front will make it somewhere near Pocatello. Gusty north winds behind that front, gusty west winds out ahead of it, and much calmer winds for Sunday. So your dust-prone areas, these are our three biggest areas of blowing dust, and really four areas of blowing dust, and areas where we saw issues with a very similar wind event on Thursday. So from Idaho on I-15 from Idaho Falls to Roberts, we saw near zero visibility there and blowing dust. Expect similar conditions today. Possible highway closures. We saw very low visibility, particularly north of Fort Hall along Interstate 15. We saw a semi-truck that was toppled over. Also, Interstate 86 between American Falls and Pocatello, and Highway 39 between American Falls and Aberdeen. Those were the four areas we saw the worst impacts on Thursday, and we expect very similar impacts today with very low visibility, very strong crosswinds as well. Here's what it looked like on I-15. This is in the Osgood area. This is our worst stretch for blowing dust, and you can see visibility was basically near zero. Again, expect very similar conditions today. This was the look along Interstate 86 on Thursday. As I mentioned, very similar conditions are expected today. This was at Arbin Valley, which is between Pocatello and Idaho and American Falls. And you can see the toppled semi that occurred near the Fort Hall area on Thursday. So some blowing dust safety tips, you can see those there. In terms of precipitation with this system, we're not expecting much, just a few snow showers in the central Idaho mountains, the Montana border region, and from Island Park down to Palisades during the late afternoon and evening hours, which you can see here. Any snowfall amounts would be under an inch, really mostly in the trace range. Will be milder today out ahead of the cold front, with temperatures getting into the upper 50s, low 60s for valley areas. And then much cooler for Sunday, will knock about 10 degrees off of today's high temperatures. And some chilly conditions getting into Sunday morning behind our cold front, with all areas getting below freezing. And through the week, with the area of low pressure moving in, expect below average temperatures through most of, if not the entire, work week. And we alluded to, a few slides ago, the winds for Tuesday. They'll be out of the north and northeast now. We could see some gusts over 30 miles per hour across portions of the Snake River Plain. So to summarize, a high wind event is certain for today. We'll see extreme blowing dust. We will see some isolated tree and power line damage, strong crosswinds as well. And the conditions will be worse between 11 a.m. and 10 p.m. and especially worst around the late afternoon and early evening hours. Cooler and quieter conditions for Sunday. Then another low pressure system will move into the area with some details that yet to be sorted out, but do know there is the potential for some valley snow, particularly as we get into midweek. Otherwise, that'll conclude the briefing for today. If you have any comments, questions, or feedback, we encourage you to reach out to us through the mediums you see here. Thank you.